is
Hey, we're here.
speeding.
What's up, y'all?
Wow.
Welcome back to another episode of For the Soul series,
Mm-hmm.
man. As y'all know, I have been releasing music that
Mm-hmm.
really is speaking towards the healing process, mental health
Mm-hmm.
process. And this section,
Mm-hmm.
this series right here,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
is called No Smoke.
Okay. So tell us about this song.
Because I dropped the song No Smoke, right?
Uh-huh.
So a little context behind No Smoke was like, you ever feel like somebody trying you and like they take your kindness for granted, or like they try to take that as a weakness?
Yeah.
And people don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
the inner Erica is a little savage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you ever see Scrappy from Scooby Doo?
Oh, that's
Let me at him.
cute.
Let me. At him.
That's so cute. That's so cute.
I'm definitely a little Scrappy vibes mixed
Mm-hmm.
with the real little Scrappy. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? Rapper Scrappy.
Okay. Got it.
I don't know if that's a good reference. But so I had a little situation in the
Uh-huh.
industry, as you probably know. The music industry, they like to try you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was trying to tax me on some hoopla stuff and really trying to kind of exploit me because of where I was at. And I recognized that they were trying to exploit me, and I didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I shared a few comments or whatever, but the song was really coming from a place of like, okay, I am about to regress into some unhealthy habits that would be not only harmful to you,
Mm-hmm.
which is my intention, but also harmful
To me.
to myself.
Yes.
And so No Smoke is really this like declaration of kind of talking about anger, talking about feelings of being tried, but then like going through that process of like when somebody try you, you in that decision of like, am I going to regress or am I not? Right?
Is there a middle ground?
I don't know. It depends on what you define as regressing, because
Mm-hmm. So paint the picture for us. What is regressing?
for me,
Yeah.
it's anything that causes me to exercise a behavior that is harmful for me, like, and also
Okay.
to other people.
Okay, like what? Give us an example.
So, example, this person tried to exploit me
Mm-hmm.
and me ending their entire financial career.
So you just decided not to do that.
Yeah.
You took the high road.
Yeah. And not blasted some things I knew about them and some things that they had shared with me in confidence.
Okay.
And like just being messy, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. It was just
Uh-huh.
not necessary to do, because it probably would have caused more damage, than good.
Okay.
So that's an example.
So when is it okay to like there
to
is a middle
to
ground.
drag somebody in the streets.
Okay, because sometimes that might be necessary, but
Yeah.
I am not a person. How you're Scrappy from Scooby Doo, I'm just the fighter. I'm like Mike Tyson. Okay, I'm just
Biting
gonna
ears
go.
off.
I'm just gonna go for it.
Okay.
So I do believe in picking my battles, but
Yeah.
when is it necessary? I feel like it's
Necessary for what?
necessary sometimes, not to regress particularly, but to speak your mind
Oh,
or
absolutely.
to. I believe in cuss some folks out and go on about your day. Okay? Some people need to be told just how it is. There is
Right.
no sugarcoating. There's being no nice about it. I just got to be straight up about how I feel.
Right. And see, this is why I love this conversation, because I feel like I have been learning to exercise that part of me. So that to me is not the old version. That's the new version. I'm going to tell you how
Is
it
it?
is. Yeah, definitely. Because what typically the old version of me is, I was definitely blunt, but if you did something that rubbed me the wrong way, I might not say nothing in that moment.
Yeah.
But after a certain point, I'm just going to explode and I'm going to lay fire to you.
But
You know what I mean?
what I say often to people who tend to be like sodas, where it's like every opportunity I have to say something, I don't, and I just let situations shake me up.
Yeah.
And then I get to a point where the cap comes off and I explode on people. I have often said those people don't deserve that.
Absolutely. The people they're exploding on.
Correct.
Yeah,
The person you are
absolutely.
exploding on doesn't deserve all of that because
Yeah.
you've missed so many opportunities where you could have spoken up
Yeah.
before you got to the point where I want to explode it.
Right.
Explode. And to your point about anger, right? It's expressing this anger. And I think that it's important because anger is typically like the symptom of what the real thing is. Like
Right.
sometimes I think it's sadness that I don't know how to express. It's
Yeah.
grief that I don't know how to express. It's
Yeah.
disappointment. It's hurt feelings that I am challenged with expressing. So I hold it
Absolutely.
in, then it comes out and it's anger.
Yeah, and a lot of things that we explode about, if I'm completely honest, could really be handled in
Absolutely.
on a very minuscule
Yep.
conversation,
Yes.
couple lines. Hey,
Correct.
when this happened, this made me feel like this.
Yep.
And can you either provide clarity or can you not do that again because of X,
Absolutely.
Y, and Z? A lot of
Absolutely.
times we don't say nothing, and that's where, you know what I'm saying, my anger cord a lot of times was struck because I am a very sensitive person. And so, like, evolving into where I'm at now, it's like I assess my feelings and I'm not afraid to have a conversation and talk about it. I used to have a little less tact and understanding as it pertains to communicating my feelings and then also trying to be understanding of where the person came from.
Right.
So what I mean by that is kind of assigning motive to the other party, you know, and assigning what their intention was, and then basing my feelings based upon the intentions that I
Yeah,
assigned
the
for them.
assumptions that I've made. I'm just gonna have my own conversation at this point.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what
I
happened.
done created a whole story
Yeah.
in my mind. And
Yep.
so my explosion then is therefore justified
Yeah.
in my mind because you don't even, and then God forbid I go to, you don't understand. And you don't understand me. And now I'm fighting you to understand a picture that I created, but never communicated,
Correct.
never allowed you or the person the opportunity to give me perspective
Correct.
on the picture that I'm painting. So it's
Correct.
just a lot of mess.
Yeah. And why do you think you did that? What's the root of that?
Man, I think it was fear of, I would say it was a few things. Why I wouldn't say anything in the first place is fear of rejection, fear of like kind of that feeling of I don't want to be too much or like make it a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When it is a big deal, obviously, because I'm holding it in and all this stuff, but me trying to minimize my feelings, right? And then minimizing it so much to a point where it gets to a place where I can't like minimize it anymore. I can't
Right.
suppress it anymore,
Right.
right? So that would be one, fear of just like feeling like I'm too much.
Yeah.
And then I think the other kind of root of it, especially as it pertains to creating scenarios and pictures in my mind, is like just past trauma. Like I had learned to create scenarios out of survival mode from the things that I went through in order to help me to kind of get through it. I would create alternate realities about like mentally what was actually happening to
Yeah.
help me, right? And little did I know the same thing that I used that tool to kind of survive when I was in those very harmful environments. Now, when I'm not in a harmful space, right, and I'm perceiving a threat, I'm creating these pictures, and it kind of works in like I guess the opposite way, right? Because when I'm in a traumatized environment,
Yes.
I'm creating a scenario that is like
Not as bad.
not as bad, right? And now I'm in a non-traumatizing
Yeah.
environment and I'm creating a scenario that is really bad,
Yeah.
right? Instead of just kind of coming to this person, sharing my feelings because I'm afraid to share my feelings, right? So I'm perceiving another threat that's happening and now I'm amplifying and magnifying this threat. So yeah, it's interesting. What I would like to kind of maybe in the future dig into is like, why is it kind of different? Like when I'm in a like seemingly decent environment, I'm not in the traumatized environment, but I'm amplifying this to make it worse than what it is. Versus when I'm in a traumatized environment, I'm minimizing it, right? Like I'm trying to create it to make it seem like it's not as bad so I can get through it. So I just think that that's interesting that my brain did that.
Why do you why do you think that?
Now I feel like we in therapy. What?
We're not. You're saying it, and I'm like, okay, this is our opportunity to dig into that because I mean, I have some things that I think
You know,
myself, but why?
I mean, off the top of my head, I don't really know. I would probably say the first part makes a lot of sense when I'm in a traumatizing environment. in order for me to kind of get through it. I think a lot of it was I didn't have power. I didn't have agency that I could exercise because things happened when I was younger. And so I didn't have the best situation where I could really fully advocate for myself to change the situation.
Right.
Right. And so now as I'm an adult,
Yes.
like, nah, this ain't happening to me again. So if I perceive a threat or something that is a threat, then I'm all guns blazing. You know what I mean?
What do you
And
mean by that? All guns blazing?
assuming the worst intentions of a person, where if something is done that makes me feel uncomfortable, then I'm assigning a motive. A lot of times that motive is going to be the worst case scenario, or at least a very negative motive, in the past anyway. And then I'm addressing or responding to that trigger. You know what I'm saying? Makes sense?
Yes, it does. How do you root yourself in what is actually going on? Because it puts me in the mind of this fact versus feeling conversation where it's like, I feel that this is going on,
Yeah.
but it's very different from what is actually going on. So how do you root yourself in reality, like this is what's actually happening and not what I feel is happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold. One, I ask myself, did this feeling that you feel, like, did this actually happen, or is this how you feel about something that happened?
Yes.
That's the first question I always
Yes.
ask. And then two, I ask the intention of the person. Like, I give them an opportunity before, and a lot of times my response is like this: okay, before I go to the extreme,
Yeah.
I want to ask you, because I'm reading something and I don't even know if that's your intention.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me, did you mean X, Y, and Z? Like, what did you mean by that?
Correct.
You know, and giving that person the opportunity. So then that way, if they do respond and they meant what I was assuming, then okay. Then we got another whole nother problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But a lot of times it's not even like that. A lot of times it's not their intention.
And I think you point out, because this is what I was thinking in my mind, curiosity is such a great skill to have in your toolbox.
Yeah.
Just to get the clarification that you need. Because a lot of the time we are experiencing neutral things presently that trigger old things. And it's important to clarify. Like, this is how I'm feeling. And I think that's big on being able to own your feelings and not saying that this is somebody else's fault. You did this and now I feel like this. It's like, I'm feeling this. This is what I'm seeing. Help me to confirm. I'm going to confirm or deny that this is what I'm feeling is true or not.
Right. And
you give people that opportunity.
And here's the thing, speaking of no smoke, a lot of times we have to let our guns down. We have to get out of the defense mode, right? Like, we can't come with that curiosity when we are defending and we're trying, like, we have to let up off of that for a second and say, like, okay, am I really being attacked here? Because my guns are blazing.
But speaking of no smoke and the guns blazing, sometimes you are being attacked.
You are.
Sometimes you are being put into a defensive mode.
100%. 100%. Now, my question is how do you navigate that when you are? Because going back to what you said, I think that there are necessary times when you do need to speak up and advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
100%. When you need to put somebody in their place.
For sure.
You know, and my whole thing is how you put someone in their place. Make sure that it is not harmful to you and your process.
And I think that's huge because I literally had a conversation with someone once, and they said, well, you'll just go say whatever to somebody, but you try to tell me not to do the same thing. And I'm like, but when I do it, I'm fine the next second. When you do it, it bothers you. It messes up your whole day. It messes up your whole mood. You're upset about it for days. I'm not like that. I can give someone a piece of my mind and forget about it the next second. So I think it's important to just know yourself. And I'm also big on, I'm going to try to do it as honoring as possible.
I was just the first couple of times.
I'm going to be as honoring as I can be. I'm never going to get to the point where I'm disrespecting anybody. I'm going to call you out your name. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to hit below the belt. I'm not going to throw anything you've told me in confidence in your face. I'm not going to do anything like that. I don't think there's ever a time that calls for that. So
Right.
let's draw a very clear picture, because some people think it's no holds barred
Right.
at a certain
And
point.
it's
I'm going to
all
say
out
whatever I
here.
want to say. It don't matter. That one thing you told me in
Right.
private, I'm going to throw it up in your face. I'm going to embarrass you. I don't believe in that.
And I think
Absolutely
that
not.
that's so important, because a part of the healing journey, right,
Mm-hmm.
is like being intentional about, one, how you are handling yourself, but then
Correct.
also how you handle others, because
Correct.
that does affect you
Yep.
in the long run. And so, like, I agree 100%. I think that there is space for you to let somebody know, put them in their place, but put them in their place with respect, where it's not degrading you. And it's also not degrading them, because there's a difference between like stooping to their level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Versus just putting in their place from a high place. Like, I'm going to still have respect for me, and I'm going to have respect for you, but I'm going to also let you know what it
But
is.
that shit hard sometimes.
It's hard.
It's hard. Because
That's why I said you don't want
I
no
ain't gonna
smoke.
take the high road, but so many times I'm gonna be in the middle. I'm taking the middle road. You keep playing around, we gonna get in the middle of that thing. I ain't gonna go to the basement, but I ain't gonna keep taking the high road. I'm gonna find that middle ground
Listen,
where I can really let you know what it is.
And sometimes, I think that that's understandable, and I think that that's the beautiful part about the journey, because what may be your middle road may be somebody's high road, right?
Correct.
Like, and that may be another person's basement.
And I think, nuance for all things. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's great. But still, I think the biggest thing for me is what I've understood, just being an adult and being in relationships, and not
Yeah.
all romantic. It can be platonic, it can be family.
Yeah.
Any relationship is really understanding, how have I chosen to show up in my
Facts.
own life? What boundaries have I drawn for myself that I'm not going to step outside of, regardless of what anyone says,
Yeah.
regardless of what anyone does? There is a fine red
Right.
line that I'm not going to cross, because I've chosen that for myself.
Right. And I think it goes into what we've been talking about in this series all along, is like not allowing external factors or things to influence your internal boundaries and
Yeah.
centerness that you
Yeah.
have created for yourself. It's not the easiest thing to do, especially when we are conditioned to kind of allow external things to be our guide versus our internal selves really being able to set the standard for us. But yeah, so before we wrap this up, like, just recap or give me 3 things, like, when a person is facing that moment of regressing, and I'm talking about this person is like, listen, I just started my healing journey. I'm working on me. I'm still like I'm clocked in. I just clocked in. Okay,
I just
like,
got to work. You want to play? All right. I ain't even sat down. I ain't even sat down yet. Okay.
So when they are faced with situations, whether it be relationships, work, or just anything that kind of would cause them to go back into behaviors or choices, decisions that are harmful for themselves, like, what kind of advice would you give them? Like,
I tend to be on a radical end of
okay.
things. I'm very much that person that if I have set my mind to go on this healing journey, whatever is going to impede on that,
Yeah,
it's got to go.
got to go.
I'm going to have one conversation with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to communicate with you, especially if it's somebody I love. I'm going to communicate with you what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Because everyone is not going to be able to support you. Everyone is not going
Yeah.
to understand. And you have to be okay with that. Some people do not have the capacity to walk with you, to support you as you are doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have one conversation. I'm going to communicate with you, let you know what I'm trying to do. If you can't support that, if I can sense that you're going to throw me off in any way, I cold turkey. Like, because I can be radical with things.
Yeah.
Because once you get to a certain point of desperation, it's like
Yeah.
radicalism
Yeah.
might be necessary, and it's okay. And that's
Right.
just my advice. You're not listening to me. But I'm like, whatever it's going to take
Right.
to get me to a place where I'm whole, it's anything can go.
Right.
Mama can go.
And I think that like, to add a little balance to that, right? Because I know there are some people that's listening to this where the choice isn't as easy. It's
Yeah.
like, I just can up and leave.
It's not
Maybe
easy.
it's or simple.
Simple.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Maybe it's a situation where, their safety is involved or
Yeah.
at risk and things like that. And so like what I would say, just to add to that, because I agree, I think that there needs to be removal of
Absolutely.
anything that's going to impede your process.
Yep.
And if you can't immediately remove it, then start working towards creating boundaries and a
Correct.
plan to get this thing or whatever this thing is causing you to kind of like waver or be in an unstable place to
Yeah.
go into your healing
Yeah.
journey. Make progressive steps to remove it.
I would agree. I think we're both speaking about the same thing, which is boundaries.
Yeah.
And for some people, boundaries are not one thing or the other. They can be on a spectrum. So I think that just if you take those boundaries step by step, yeah, I think that's cool. You gonna expend some energy and probably waste some energy doing that, but I don't disagree with that at all.
That's
I think
good,
that's good
man.
advice.
Well, okay. Well, I appreciate y'all listening, man. That is a wrap for this episode. Make sure that you follow us on social media. Make sure you
Yes.
download the Solinity app. Subscribe to what we're doing, man. It's amazing. This app is really, really leading a lot of people into wellness on their journey. You get a lot of resources, meditation, soundscapes. You get coaching. You get so much. We go
So many
live every week.
things.
It's just amazing.
Yep.
So make sure you subscribe.
We want to see you guys.